Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're sort of talking just generally about, what I've noticed as a change in thinking, maybe not change in thinking, but a more proactive approach by authorities in the kingdom with respect to basically, for lack of a better term, law and order issues here in the kingdom. I've talked a lot about this in the context of immigration. This video is not talking specifically in the context of immigration. I just find it interesting that generally this whole trend seems to be something that, again, this proactive approach to encouraging law and order just seems to be kind of an across-the-board thing, at least here in Bangkok. A recent article from the Bangkok Post, that's bangkokpost.com, the title is Grand Palace Touts Nabbed. Quoting directly, almost 90 people have been rounded up in a joint operation to restore law and order around the Grand Palace following complaints about foreign visitors being pressured to purchase services they do not require. Quoting further, a total of 87 people were arrested in the operation, of which 68 were booked for violating traffic violations, and 19 others were charged with creating a nuisance in public areas. Another group of 52 people were also detained and warned not to engage in fraudulent activities that could tarnish the country's image and possibly hurt the tourism industry. Folks who read sort of forums about Thailand or go online and read about, living in Thailand and things, discussion of the sort of ubiquitous scammers near the Grand Palace is pretty common. I've seen it a lot online. It's almost discussed as it's almost like a cliche about living in the city. What I find interesting about this is this just seems to me to be one piece of a greater whole with respect to how things are changing, with respect to the attitude of government and law enforcement authorities here in the kingdom, how they're prioritizing things. I would almost liken this to, if you look back in the United States when Rudolph Giuliani became the mayor of New York City, there was a program that he enacted where they began really kind of taking a hard line on small time, like minor petty crime. Things like people that were jumping the turnstiles in subways, and minor graffiti, things like that. And the theory was, and I don't know if this is totally valid, but it does seem to have some overall validity. But the theory was that if you were catching the minor crime, you were essentially forestalling those perpetrators from engaging in, more egregious behavior, more egregious activity, and you were also sort of setting a general tone in the environment that kind of activity is not going to be tolerated. Now, I don't know if there's an overarching paradigm in Thailand or Bangkok specifically with respect to this, but it would seem that authorities here in the kingdom are taking an increasingly harder line on things that could be considered quote-unquote petty. Things like relatively small immigration infractions, overstaying in the kingdom, which was once considered sort of regulatory and something that you could just fob off. Now overstaying is rather seriously punished in many cases. And again, this isn't just focused on foreigners. Again, these touts, if you will, are clearly being perhaps not targeted, but they're cracking down on some of these things. And I think there might be sort of a broader initiative, a broader policy initiative, perhaps not too dissimilar to the one instituted by Rudolph Giuliani. For good or ill, I'm not really discussing the merits of the theory, but again, the theory being that going after sort of the more petty crime results in an overall sort of reduction in crime in a given jurisdiction as a whole, because you're basically keeping folks from engaging in more egregious behavior, as I said before, and you're also promoting overall an environment of law and order.